These are all the books I read in 2024, and this is my reading wrapped. Before I start, I just want to say that I will not be ranking the 2 Witcher books that I read this year because I want to rank them all as a series, and so I will rank them next year when I finish the series this year. I'm also going to be doing this in order of how much I liked them. So we're going to start with the ones I didn't like that much. We're going to go to the ones that were kind of meh, and then we're going to go to the ones that I actually liked. So my least favorite book was Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I just thought that this book was nothing spectacular. The plot seemed really cool, the premise, but it just wasn't. It was very, very 2016. Yeah. The next book is Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. The thing I didn't like about this book was the role that all of the female main characters played in it relating to the main character. That just really turned me off. I don't want to spoil anything, but the last woman that he sleeps with in this book, no. It probably would have been higher on my list if that hadn't happened. And the final book that I read that I didn't like was The 7-Year Slip by, who's it by? Ashley Poston. So many people loved this book. This book is the reason that I no longer trust Book Talk for my book recommendations because I had not heard a single bad thing about this book. Everyone was saying this is my favorite book. This is my favorite book of the year. So are you being paid? This book is not, I mean, it's fine. The first chapter, that like introduction, beautiful. The rest of the book, no, not good. Didn't like it. Didn't hate it, but it was overhyped. So next is the books that I didn't hate and I didn't love. They were just kind of meh. The first one being Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. This is a series. I think there's like 5 or 6 books in it. I only read the first one and after that I was like, I'm good. It's a dark romance fantasy, but it's also kind of modern, urban fantasy, I guess. The whole thing takes place in a prison. You know, the action, the chemistry is interesting and everything, but there were some very disturbing scenes in this, sexually disturbing, that I was just not into. The next book that I read was The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. I don't read a lot of like murder mystery thrillers, so this was a little bit out there for me, but it was fine. The plot twists were cool. I didn't see the ending coming. There was a sequel that I didn't read, but I did look up the plot synopsis because I was curious. So that's how I feel about this. And my next meh book was Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. This is the only Agatha Christie book that I have ever read. It was also what's the detective's name? Poirot or something. He's a detective that she repeats in a lot of her novels. And I'm pretty sure like all of the popular Agatha Christie screen adaptations that have been made within like the last decade are following that detective. Yeah. Anyway, I did watch the movie after I read this and I kind of like the movie better. You know, it was more dramatic than the book. But I would read another one of her books. You know, it was a little bit boring to me just because I think that it was so old. They were written in the 30s. But, you know, it was fine. This last book in this category is the most recent one that I read, so maybe after some time I'll feel differently about it, but it is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but this one. It won a Nobel Prize in Literature, so I guess it's renowned. They did make a movie. I haven't seen the movie. This book, I did like it. I liked it a lot. I don't think that there's any questions that I have after reading it that were like unanswered or anything. I just don't think that I really connected with the story that much. I don't know. I mean, it made me feel really sad and a little bit like uneasy when I finished, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. Like if a book can do that to you, I think that's really powerful. But Okay, so now moving on to the books that I really liked. The first of which is Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. First of all, this cover art is gorgeous. It's super short. It's like less than 300 pages. Quick read. It goes by pretty fast too. This is like an unreliable narrator, which is one of my favorite tropes. And yeah, I don't know. It's very like feminist, my feminist literature. It's just good. It's a wild ride. My fourth favorite book that I read was Krampus by Brom. This is my second book that I have read by Brom. The first one was Slewfoot last year, and I really liked that one. I liked this one less than Slewfoot, but it was still really good. His storytelling is amazing. I feel like he really just brings you into the book, and it's like all encompassing. He's also an artist, so his books do come with illustrations. But yeah, so if this scares you, maybe don't read it, because these books are really gory and graphic, but they're really fun and enchanting, and this was a great Christmas time read. Okay, number 3 is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This book was just such a good time, honestly. It was a vibe. It takes place in the 80s, if you can tell from the cover, and every chapter is a different 80s song. So somebody made a playlist on Spotify that you can listen along to, and I would highly recommend doing that. I did it. I still listen to some of these songs. I discovered new music through this book. Well, I guess old music, but anyway. So this book, it was just fun to read. You know what I mean? Like, it was like watching a movie. I would recommend reading this maybe like in the fall time around Halloween. The only thing I will say is that I still have like some unanswered questions, I think, after reading this. So, you know, it's not perfect, but it was really fun. My second favorite book was Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. This is a romance, but it also really follows the mental health of the main characters and how that affects their relationship. It's a very different vibe. It's not like cheesy or cutesy. It's very like serious, I'd say. Not that, you know, there's anything wrong with that. I personally don't really gravitate towards those kind of romances. I feel like it's better when there's a little extra like oomph, and this has that for sure. So I think about this all the time. So if you know me at all, you saw this coming. Number 1 is ACOTAR. This is the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in which I liked them. Mist and Fury was my favorite. This one was my least favorite, as everyone else's. I started it in January. I finished it in, I think, July. I mean, if you know, you know. If you don't, why not? Like, hurry up, get on board. I feel like I don't even have to talk about, like, it's number 1. It's just number 1. So that was my reading wrapped for 2024, and I'll see you next year. My goal is to read 15 books in 2025. I read 12 in 2023 and then 18 in 2024. So we'll see what happens.